This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is precisely 1:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited and read by Ramesh Piris. The headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe to hold discussions with Singapore Prime Minister today. The Supreme Court determines certain clauses of the Contempt of a Court, Tribunal or Institution Bill are inconsistent with the Constitution. Sri Lanka honours the first installment under the currency swap payment to Bangladesh Bank. The opposition MPs representing plantation sector stage protest in Parliament. The cause of death and hospitalization of inmates at Galle prison identified. A safe migration promotion unit established at the BIA to prevent human trafficking. Heightened security in Kandy during the Perahara period. In news overseas, Thailand's ex-Prime Minister Thaksin jailed on return after 15 years in exile. And in Sports World Championships 2023, Sha'Carri Richardson wins 100-meter gold as Dina Asher-Smith comes 8th. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is scheduled to hold discussions with Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, today. President Wickremesinghe is currently in Singapore on a 2-day official visit. Yesterday, the head of state met President of Singapore Halimah Yacob, Minister for Defence Ng Eng Hen and Minister for Sustainability and Environment of Singapore Grace Fu Ha Yen. During the meeting with Singapore President Halimah Yacob, two leaders had fruitful discussions covering food security, renewable energy and regional economic cooperation, amongst others. The Supreme Court has determined that certain clauses of the Contempt of a Court, Tribunal or Institution Bill are inconsistent with the Constitution. The determination of the Supreme Court pertaining to the bill was pronounced by the Speaker of House Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardene at the commencement of this morning's parliamentary session. The determination of the Supreme Court on the constitutionality of the proposed Contempt of a Court, Tribunal or Institution Bill was directed to the Speaker of House. Fundamental rights petitions were filed against the bill by 5 parties, including the Colombo Bar Association and the Sri Lanka Bar Association. The Supreme Court bench, consisting of Justices Murthu Fernando, Shiran Gunaratne and Achala Vengapudi, heard submissions from petitioners and also from Additional Solicitor General Naren Pulle, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General. Sri Lanka has paid back Bangladesh $50 million out of the $200 million loan it took under the currency swap system in 2021. Spokesperson and Executive Director of the Bangladesh Bank, Mesbul Haq, has confirmed that the installment was paid on the 17th of August. Haq said a second installment is expected on the 30th of August, adding that the Bangladesh Bank hopes to get back the total amount from Sri Lanka within this year. In September 2021, Bangladesh loaned Sri Lanka $200 million from its foreign exchange reserves under the currency swap system. The term of the 1-year loan expired in September last year. Then the term was extended twice in 3 months till March this year. Finally, Sri Lanka was given another 6 months till September to repay the loan. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. Labour and Foreign Employment Minister Manusha Nanakara says Sri Lanka has established a safe migration promotion unit at the Bandaranayake International Airport in Katunayaka. According to the lawmaker, this unit was appointed on the directives of the Parliamentary Select Committee, which looks into gender equity and equality, with special emphasis on looking into gender-based discrimination and violations of women's rights in Sri Lanka. It is tasked with conducting primary and secondary inquiries on the local migrant workers in a bid to prevent Sri Lankans travelling abroad on tourist visas from falling prey to human trafficking syndicates. The unit will also provide proper guidance to Sri Lankan migrant workers. It will primarily focus on locals travelling to Malaysia, Oman and Dubai, Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates on tourist visas. Around 5,500 police officers will be on duty during the SLBC festival of the Temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy. The police headquarters said in addition to the police officers, Triforces and Special Task Force personnel have also been deployed to provide security during the Kandy Perahara period. Meanwhile, special traffic plan is in place daily from 2 p.m. in the Kandy city. Accordingly, heavy vehicles other than public transport services will not be allowed to enter the city. Moreover, the first Kumbal Perahara got underway at the auspicious time of 7:10 p.m. with majestic Tusker in the Raja carrying the golden Karandua. A large number of Tuskers were part of the Kumbal Perahara, adding glamour to the traditional procession. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story, the prison spokesman Chandana Ekanayaka confirmed the cause behind the deaths of 2 inmates and hospitalization of several others at the Galle prison has been identified as a bacterial infection. Accordingly, as per preliminary investigations into the matter, the 2 inmates died due to an infection of meningococcal bacteria, which later caused the spread of meningococcal disease, the Ministry of Health confirmed. Meanwhile, prison spokesman Ekanayaka said 7 others are currently receiving treatment at the prison hospital. And that was main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
In Watchlight, Nallur Kandaswamy Kovil Temple Festival 2023 began on the 21st August 2023 with the Kodiyatram celebration. This is on the 6th day after the Adi Amavasi day. The government has relaxed restrictions on visiting tourists to obtain their tourist visas fast and arrive without hardships. So those who desire to visit Nallur annual festival can plan their trips as they can travel here smoothly. Nallur Temple authorities and Jaffna Municipal completed all the arrangements for the 2023 annual festival. All streets surrounding the temple will be closed from the 21st of August till the 16th of September for unrestricted movement of the visiting individuals. And that came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Moving on to a bulletin of world news, first the headlines. Thailand's ex-Prime Minister Thaksin jailed on return after 15 years in exile. Cruel, calculated, Lucy Ledby to spend rest of her life in prison. India's lunar lander Vikram searches for safe moon landing spot. Now the world news in detail. The former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was swiftly arrested, taken to court and jailed after he landed back home in Thailand after 15 years in self-imposed exile. Thaksin, who made his fortune in the telecommunications business, boarded a private plane in Singapore and landed at Bangkok's Don Mueang Airport on Tuesday. Thaksin paid his respects to the king on his arrival and shortly afterwards was taken in a police convoy to the Supreme Court where he was charged with abuse of power and several other outstanding criminal offences, which he has described as politically motivated. He was later taken to a Bangkok prison, with the Supreme Court releasing a statement saying he would serve a total of 8 years in jail, the Reuters news agency reported. Neonatal nurse Lucy Ledby, who is the UK's most prolific child serial killer in modern British history, will spend the rest of her life behind bars. The 33-year-old was convicted on Friday of murdering 7 babies and attempting to kill 6 other infants at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Ledby deliberately injected babies with air, force-fed others milk and poisoned 2 of the infants with insulin. She refused to appear in the dock for her sentencing hearing. The judge proceeded without her and said he was addressing her as if she were in the dock. Ledby was given multiple whole life terms, one for each offence, becoming only the fourth woman in UK history to receive such a sentence. India's space agency has released images of the far side of the moon as its third lunar mission attempts to locate a safe landing spot on the little explored South Pole. The pictures have been taken by Vikram, Chandrayaan-3's lander, which began the last phase of its mission on Thursday. Vikram, which carries a rover in its belly, is due to land on the 23rd of August. The photos come a day after Russia's Luna 25 spacecraft crashed into the moon after spinning out of control. India's Space Research Organization added that the black and white images sent by this camera will assist them in locating a safe landing area without boulders or deep trenches. Back to the headlines of the world news. Thailand's ex-Prime Minister Thaksin jailed on return after 15 years in exile. Cruel, calculated, Lucy Ledby to spend rest of life in prison. And India's lunar lander Vikram searches for safe moon landing spot. And that concludes World News.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities for well-experienced housemaids and home cooks in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait for ages 40 to 58 years. Salary 125,000 rupees. Contact 037 7500 500.
In development news, over 860,000 tourist arrivals have been reported thus far in 2023, as per the statistics recorded by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Accordingly, a total of 866,744 tourist arrivals were reported since January this year, of which 98,831 were reported within the first 20 days of August, the SLTDF stated. While a majority of the tourists have been identified as Indian nationals, a high number of British and Chinese nationals were also recorded entering the island. And that was development news.
Job opportunities for women from Deshakti Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Housemaids and home cooks in Saudi Arabia, ages 40 to 58 years. Arabic speaking and well-experienced home cooks. Salary 125,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can travel overseas free of charge now. Branches Colombo, Kurunegala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 0377 500 500. Deshakti Lanka Foreign Employment Agency.
World Athletic Championships 2023. Dina Asher-Smith missed out on a 100-meter medal at the World Championships in Budapest as American Sha'Carri Richardson beat a star-studded field of rivals to claim her first major title. Britain's Asher-Smith finished a disappointing 8th in 11 seconds after scraping through the semi-finals. Richardson, contesting her first major final at 23, clocked a championship record of 10.65 seconds to take the victory. Jamaica's Sharak Jackson took silver ahead of Shelley and Fraser Price. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, the Indian budget carrier SpiceJet commenced direct flight services between Madurai in India and Colombo in Sri Lanka from the 20th of August. Its first flight, SG003, from Madurai carrying 30 passengers and 4 crew arrived at Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake same day. In July, SpiceJet announced it will resume flights between Madurai and Colombo. The direct flight services were suspended during the COVID epidemic. The budget carrier will operate flights between India's Madurai and Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake, Colombo, 6 days a week, except on Wednesday. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, the overall rate of inflation as measured by the National Consumer Price Index on year-on-year basis has reduced to 4.6% in July from 10.8% in June 2023. The NCPI for all items for the month of July has been recorded as 201.9, which is a reduction of 1.4 index points compared to the month of June. The Department of Census and Statistics said in a statement with respect to July 2022, the reported inflation for the month of July 2023 was mainly due to higher price levels prevailed in both food and non-food groups. However, following policy decisions taken by the government and the central bank, core inflation has come down substantially in the past few months. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, moving on to the weather report. The Department of Meteorology predicts several spells of showers in the western and Sabaragama provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts today. The Met Department added that showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the central, Uva and eastern provinces and in the Mullaitivu district during the evening or at night. Meanwhile, fairly strong winds of about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the north central and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota district. And that was the weather report. And now to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe to hold discussions with Singapore Prime Minister today. The Supreme Court determines certain clauses of the Contempt of a Court, Tribunal or Institution Bill are inconsistent with the Constitution. Sri Lanka honours the first installment under the currency swap payment to Bangladesh Bank. The cause of death and hospitalization of inmates at Galle prison identified. A safe migration promotion unit established at the BIA to prevent human trafficking. Heightened security in Kandy during the Perahera period. In international news, Thailand's ex-Prime Minister Thaksin jailed on return after 15 years in exile. In sports, World Championships Athletics, that is 2023, Sha'Carri Richardson wins 100-meter gold as Dina Asher-Smith comes 8th. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.